Welcome to NFL Nexus, the place where we dig deep into the blueprints that build NFL dynasties. In today's league, it's all about offense, right? Explosive plays, quarterbacks throwing for 5,000 yards. It's a track meet out there. So the ultimate challenge, the real holy grail, is building a defense that can actually fight back. Today, we're zooming in on one team that's trying to do just that. We're heading to Indianapolis to crack the code on a defensive rebuild that is becoming impossible to ignore.
But hey, before we dive into the war room, if you're a fan of these deep dives and you love getting into the weeds of NFL strategy, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to NFL Nexus. It really helps the channel out. Oh, and if you're looking for a cool way to support what we do here, we've actually got some NFL-themed coloring books. They're awesome for kids, grandkids. Honestly, I find them pretty relaxing myself. You can grab them using the link down in the description or just scan that QR code on your screen right now. Your support is what lets us keep making explainers like this one.
All right, let's get into it. And let's start with the biggest question of all, the one that keeps GMs and coaches staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. In an age where offenses are putting up video game numbers every single week, how on earth do you build a defense that can do more than just survive? How do you build one that actually dominates, one that can dictate the terms of a game?
And look, the answer isn't as simple as just signing a big-name pass rusher in free agency or getting lucky with a draft pick. It takes more. It takes a guiding philosophy, a blueprint that every single person in the organization buys into. And right now in Indianapolis, that blueprint is starting to come into focus. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It is becoming painfully obvious what they're trying to do.
Now, to really understand where the Colts are going, you first have to understand where they've been. For Indianapolis, the high watermark for defensive excellence, the ghost that's been haunting their defense for years, well, it has a name: Dwight Freeney. He wasn't just a great player, he was the standard, the Freeney standard.
I mean, this quote from Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy just says it all, doesn't it? Dwight was the straw that stirred the drink. Think about what that means. He wasn't just a part of the defense, he was the central element. In an era completely defined by Peyton Manning's historically great offense, Freeney was the force of nature on the other side of the ball that made it all work. He made sure that defense was feared, not just an afterthought.
And the numbers, my gosh, the numbers just back it up completely. The Colts grabbed him 11th overall back in '02, and they were betting on one thing: his elite, unteachable trait. That was his mind-bending speed off the edge, paired with that legendary spin move that made all pro tackles look like they were on ice skates. The result? It was instantaneous. 13 sacks and a rookie record of 9 forced fumbles. Just absurd. He ended his Colts career with over 100 sacks. He created the mandate for this franchise for the next 2 decades. Find those guys. Find the individual game records who can just end a drive by themselves.
But, and this is a big but, that legacy of havoc has been really hard to live up to. That Freeney standard is a tall order, and for years the Colts just haven't been able to measure up. Just look at last season, 2025. They finished 21st in the league in scoring defense. That's not just mediocre, that's bottom third. That's a liability. It was the clearest sign you could possibly get that something had to change, and fast.
And that's where this guy comes in. Enter the architect of the new plan, General Manager Chris Ballard. Since he took over, he's been patiently laying the groundwork, instituting a very specific, almost rigid code for how this team is going to acquire defensive talent. And if you want to understand the entire Colts philosophy, you just need to read this one quote. This is the Rosetta Stone. Let's bet on the traits. Bet on high-end traits. He's not talking about what a guy did in college, his stats or his highlight reel. He's talking about the raw physical gifts: speed, length, explosiveness, the things you are born with. That is the core of the Chris Ballard doctrine.
Okay, but bet on the traits sounds great, right? It's a cool slogan for the front office. But what does that actually mean when you're on the clock in the NFL draft? How do you turn that philosophy into a tangible strategy? How do you measure something like athleticism and use it to make a decision that's worth millions of dollars and could define your franchise's future?
Well, it means you rely on a tool like this, the Relative Athletic Score, or RAS for short. You've probably heard of it. It's a metric that takes all those NFL combine numbers, the 40-yard dash, the bench press, the shuttle drills, everything, and it synthesizes them into one simple score, from 0 to 10. It basically tells you, on a historical scale, how athletic a player is compared to everyone who has ever played their position. It's a way to cut through the noise and just identify the freaks.
And when I say the Colts rely on this, that's an understatement. They are obsessive about it. In fact, the guy who created RAS, Kent Lee Platt, has said that the Colts are one of the most RAS-heavy teams he's seen in the last 10 years. He even said they're almost comical about it. That's not just a preference, that's a philosophy carved in stone. If you're not an elite athlete, you're probably not even on their board.
And you don't have to take anyone's word for it. Just look at this chart. The data tells the whole story. Between 2017 and 2021, the average RAS for their draft class was a very respectable 7.82. Good athletes. But then, look what happens. In 2022, that number jumps off the page to 965. The next year, 948. That's not a trend, people. That is a full-blown revolution. They decided they weren't just going to draft good athletes anymore. They were only going to draft the best of the best, the 1%ers.
So, okay, the plan is clear. Assemble a team of Avengers, basically. Stockpile these incredible athletes at every position. But that leads to a pretty important question, right? If they've been doing this for a couple of years, why was the defense still struggling? Well, they were missing the final crucial piece of the puzzle, the mad scientist to put it all together.
Because it's one thing to have a garage full of high-performance Ferrari parts. That's great. But if you don't have a master mechanic who knows how to assemble them into a working engine, all you have is a very expensive pile of junk. The Colts had all this athletic potential, but it wasn't translating to on-field results. They were missing the catalyst. They were missing the right coach to weaponize it.
And that mechanic is Lou Anarumo. He came over from the Bengals with this reputation as a brilliant, creative defensive mind. And when he was asked what his core defensive philosophy was, he didn't give some long-winded coach speak answer. He said this: corners and rushers. The more of them, the better. It's so simple, so direct, and so perfectly aligned with what Chris Ballard had already been building.
And his arrival signals a complete 180-degree philosophical shift. The old Colts defense was very much a bend-but-don't-break system. It was predictable. You knew what you were going to get. Anarumo is the exact opposite. His schemes are aggressive. They're multiple, meaning they can look completely different from one snap to the next. He wants to use his athletic corners and press man coverage and send blitzes from every angle to create pure, unadulterated chaos for the offense. He's here to attack.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. You have this perfect synergy between the front office and the coaching staff. Chris Ballard has one job, and one job only. Go find the most physically gifted, elite athletes you can possibly find. Stock the roster with speed and power.
And then, Lou Anarumo's job is to take those incredible athletes, plug them into his chaos-creating system, and just let them loose. He's not trying to make a player something he's not. His entire system is built to maximize the exact traits that Ballard values most. It's a perfect marriage of personnel and scheme. Okay, so enough with the theory and the philosophy. Let's see what this blueprint looks like in the real world. Let's talk about the actual players, the building blocks that are being put into place right now to create this new defensive monster in Indy. And you have to start with their 2024 first-rounder, Laiatu Latu. And this is just perfect. It brings the whole story full circle. Who was one of the first people to praise the pick? The standard-bearer himself, Dwight Freeney. And Freeney loved him not just for his athleticism, but because he was already a polished technician. Freeney said, he effectively uses his hands, using his leverage. That's huge. He's not just a raw athlete, he's a craftsman. He's the perfect foundational piece to build your pass rush around.
Then you jump to the 2025 draft, and what do? They double down. They grabbed defensive end JT Tuimoloau, and just listen to how Ballard describes him. He can bend, he knows how to rush, he's a really good athlete. That's the blueprint talking. And the fit for Anarumo? It's tailor-made. Tuimoloau is that relentless high-motor power rusher just like Trey Hendrickson, a player Anarumo helped turn into a superstar in Cincinnati. They're not just finding athletes, they're finding athletes that fit the specific vision.
Now this next guy, this might be the best example of their commitment to the plan. Everyone who follows the Colts knows Chris Ballard has a type. He almost never drafts cornerbacks under 5'11", but here he is in the third round taking Justin Wally, who is 5'10". So why break his own rule? Because the traits were just screaming at him. Ballard couldn't stop talking about how this kid worked out at his pro day with a broken wrist and still ran a ridiculous 4.3740. That's the kind of toughness and explosive athleticism that you just can't teach, and it's exactly what you need in a versatile corner for Anarumo's system. And just to prove that this isn't some new idea they just came up with, let's turn back the clock to 2021. They drafted Dayo Odedingbo in the second round. His nickname among scouts was the Human Hurricane. Why? Because of his insane, non-stop motor. He has elite length, he has power, and he has the versatility to rush off the edge or kick inside and create mismatches against guards. He is the living, breathing embodiment of this entire philosophy. Ballard has been hunting these Hurricanes for years. Now he finally has the right guy to aim them.
So when you put all these pieces on the table, the legacy of Dwight Freeney, Ballard's obsession with traits, Anarumo's aggressive scheme, and the players they're drafting, it stops being a mystery. The code is cracked. We know exactly what the formula is.
Let's just walk through it. Step 1. Target elite athleticism. A high RAS score is practically a requirement to get a call from the Colts. Step 2. Bet on the traits. Forget the college stats, draft the physical tools. Speed, length, power, that's the currency. Step 3. Use those draft picks to load up on corners and pass rushers, the two positions that Anarumo says matter most. And finally, the final step, unleash all of that talent in an aggressive, unpredictable system designed to create absolute havoc.
And the end game here, the whole point of this entire project, is to build the right kind of defense for right now. It's about constructing a unit that is young, that is blindingly fast, and that has the versatility to match up with any kind of offensive attack. This defense is being engineered from the ground up to destroy the modern pass-happy NFL offense.
In all of this, it leads us to one final, massive question. A question that looms over not just Indianapolis, but the entire league. The Colts are pushing all their chips in. They're betting the future of their franchise on this data-driven, traits-first model. So, are they pioneers? Is this the new way to build a dominant defense in the 21st century?
But that's just my analysis. I really want to know what you all think. Is this the smartest path forward, or are they ignoring too many of the fundamentals of the game, like instincts and technique? Let me know what you think down in the comments section. Let's get a good debate going. And hey, if you made it this far and enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you're subscribed to NFL Nexus for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks for watching.